Okay, well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Torah Bible study today. I'm excited about this one. This is a good one. They're all good, but I like this one. It's all about Jacob goes home, and we're going to be in Genesis 32, verses 3 through 33. So last week, Laban was divinely prevented from lifting a finger against Jacob, or in any way interfering with where he was at and where he's going to meet his brother Esau. So here's the statement. Then Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, "This is God's camp." So he called the name of the place Mahanaim. Mahanaim. There it is. Mahanaim means two camps. So in the Jewish writings, they say that there was two groups of angels. One group of angels escorted him down there to the edge of the land, and they were ready to hand him off to another group of angels who were going to take him into the land. We'll just wait and see what kind of a spin we put on that later as the weeks go by here. But Jacob was right here. So this is Israel, modern day Israel right here. This is where he was last week. And this is where he is right here. Mahanaim. How's that? I think I said it right. Mahanaim. This is where he's at. Now, this is one thing that we need to know. It's one thing I really like about the Bible. I really like this about the Bible. God meets with imperfect people.
No way.
He does. He does. He wants us to meet him, so he wrote this all down. He's in the pages of his word, okay? So we can get to know him. Okay, that was simple enough. 32. 3 through 8. 3 through 8.
Jacob sent messengers ahead of him to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. He instructed them, "This is what you are to say to my lord Esau. Your servant Jacob says, I have been staying with Laban and have remained there till now. I have cattle and donkeys, sheep and goats, male and female servants. Now I am sending this message to my lord that I might find favor in your eyes." When the messengers returned to Jacob, they said, "We went to your brother Esau, and now he is coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him." In great fear and distress, Jacob divided the people who were with him into two groups, and the flocks and herds and camels as well. He thought, if Esau comes and attacks one group, the group that is left may escape.
That's kind of blunt, isn't it? Number one, did you see that there's a little bit of fear going on there in Jacob? Just in case one group gets attacked. No wonder he
escape ladder.
He does. Jacob's escape ladder. Okay, so he's full of fear when he returns to the land of promise. As he's doing that, Jacob has left Padam Aram in fear of his father-in-law Laban last week. That's what we saw, and he's now in fear of his brother as he heads back home to the land that will be the legacy to his descendants. Very interesting. And it just kind of makes you want to know why. Why would he be fearful?
He's human.
Oh, that might be a very good reason. Just because he's human. That's reason enough. Why is he full of fear? Jacob could not know if Esau had forgiven him or not. And we spent the last couple of weeks learning how it was that God caused him to become a very wealthy man. Is that true? Yeah. Okay. I know that they didn't, but just if they did, if they had emails in those days, saw an email that would sound a little bit like this. "Dear Esau, hi, how are you? How's mom and dad?" But Jacob he's making sure, even though he snuck out of Laban's land, when he's going home, he's not coming back, sneaking back in. He's coming back to take possession of it because it's time to come back home. So why is he scared? Oh, by the way, what about mom and dad? What about Isaac and Rebekah? Rebekah simply has disappeared from the pages of the Bible and also the pages of history. She just went poof. She went away. Isaac, on the other hand, is left with only Esau, and the proliferation of offspring from the 2 daughters of the Canaanites. Ooh, that was a bad choice. And the daughter of Ishmael, Uncle Ishmael, right? The wild man whose hand shall be against everybody. He married a couple of Canaanite women, Hittite women, I think they were. And then he saw that just drove Isaac and Rebekah both crazy. That was about the only conversation that they had between the two of them, recorded in the Bible. At any rate, as Rebekah said that was going to, those women would be the death of her, and evidently they were. And he marries the daughter of Ishmael, who was the son of Abraham's flesh, if you will. Okay? So we can only imagine Isaac's grief over the long absence of one son and the utter hedonism of the other. Must have been he was an old guy and he couldn't see when Jacob left, right? And that was 20 years ago, and now he's just older, and now his wife is gone. He's still there. Okay, so Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau, his brother, let him know that he was coming. And Jacob is letting, Deb, would you help me out with this here, please? Would you just read the words here?
I'm coming home. I've done my time. Now I've got to know what is and isn't mine. If you receive my letter telling you I'd soon be free, then you'll know just what to do. If you still want me, tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree. It's been 20 long years. Do you still want me?
Sorry, Kelly.
That was really bad. I'm sorry, I just couldn't resist. So. All right. Strategy and tactics. Messengers return with the message, hey boss, we've seen him, your brother's coming, and he's got 400 guys with him. And it's not a welcome home party. It's a war party. So Jacob's response is going to be to divide and survive. It says if one company gets attacked, then maybe the other company will escape. And Jacob he was greatly afraid. Yara, right here. Distressed, be in distress, be cramped, be narrow. Yara, that's what that word means. He's really quite upset. 9 to 12, if you would, please, Mr. Steve. 9 to 12.
I was going to start singing 9 to 5. Then Jacob prayed, O God of my father Abraham, God of my father Isaac, Lord, you who said to me, go back to your country and your relatives, and I will make you prosper. I am unworthy of all the kindness and faithfulness you have shown your servant. I had only my staff when I crossed the Jordan, but now I have become too thin. Save me, I pray, from the hand of my brother Esau, for I am afraid he will come and attack me, and also the mothers with their children. But you have said, I will surely make you prosper, and will make your descendants like the sand of the sea, which cannot be counted. He spent the night there, and from what he had with him, he selected a gift for his brother Esau, 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 female camels with their young, 40 cows and 10 bulls, and 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. He put them in the care of his servants, each herd by itself, and said to the servants, go ahead of me and keep some space between the herds.
Okay. We went just a little bit too far, but that's okay. We'll just work with it. We'll just keep going. It's all right. No problem. Remember these words of pleading and reminding, okay? Jacob is now sitting down and he's going, this is not good. There's 400 guys coming at me, and I've got my family and all my stuff out here. So he's pleading for God's mercy. And he's reminding, and it's always a good idea to remind yourself of the covenant that you have with God. That's the thing that we always want to, I remind you of us of this every week, but this covenant that we have with him is like extremely important. And we want to keep that kind of out here, over here, where we can pull it up here front somewhere, down here where we can pull it up and hold it, but don't let it get behind you, and, out there somewhere. Keep that covenant, that concept of the covenant that you have with God. God of mercy, when we proclaim Scripture, it's not to remind God of the promises that he's made. Guess what? He hasn't forgotten the promises that he's made to you, but it's to remind ourselves of who he is and who you are in regard to those promises. We're the ones that need reminding. So, how could this promise come to pass if Jacob and his family were annihilated? That's a really good question. That wouldn't be much of a covenant, would it? If those 400 guys could have wiped out his entire family. So this prayer is a model for all of us today. And this is the type of prayer that we should all be praying in earnest for the Jewish people and for our own families. God, we have a covenant. I have a covenant with you. Lord, I'm expecting, you said that all of Israel will be saved. I'm expecting that all of my family members are going to be coming in contact with this covenant and coming into agreement with you because of it. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what we should be doing. In fact, that's our hope, right? That's your legacy. He's going to, Jacob reminded him, my descendants are going to be, like you said, God, they're going to be like the sands of the sea. That's a lot of people. There's no reason for any of us to be left out, okay? He pleaded for deliverance from the impending catastrophe, reminding God that he had told Jacob to leave Paddan Aram, and that he had also promised Jacob that his posterity would be as innumerable as the sands of the sea. How could this promise come to pass if Jacob and his family was annihilated? So we ought to be going, well, that's not going to happen. You ought to be going, my family's not going to be annihilated, right? Those are the thoughts and those are the kind of conversations we should be having with the Lord. I don't care what kind of condition or state of being your family members might be in. He's there, and this covenant that we have with him is very real. It's like you put your hand on your heart and you hear your heart beating. That's how real it is. That's how real a covenant that you have with him. And besides that, he promised to write his word on your heart, right, Russ? That's exactly right. Okay. Yes, please. Yes.
Could you go back one slide?
Sure.
See that line there that says, he pleaded for deliverance?
Uh-huh.
Well, remember, we're frequently told there's power in the name of Jesus, but really there's power in the name of Yeshua. Because he pleaded for deliverance. Anytime there's deliverance or salvation in the Bible, those are, in Hebrew, that is Yeshua.
This is the word Yeshua right here. He pleaded for Yeshua. Thank you. That's very good. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. There's great power. The power of the universe rests in the name Yeshua, if you will. Okay. Yep. Yay. Thank you. Very good. This could be a life staggering kind of crisis in proportion if in his head, I'm sure at that time. Just as important, the promises of God were on trial. Perhaps for a moment or two they look like empty words or hollow phrases, and they will be. Those promises can lie there on the pages of your Bible, and unless you pick them up and apply them, it's kind of like the medicine in the bottle. If you don't take it, it won't do anything. Or the vitamins, they won't do anything. And you're just running on you get to where you're running on fumes, right, Sonia? Okay? But if you pick them up and you apply them and you read them and you believe them and you speak them back to him and you're speaking them to your own self, all of a sudden they take on life and they take on power and even the power of deliverance, right? The power of salvation then. That's amazing. Okay, so two events are about to occur that would confirm forever the course of Jacob's future. First, he earnestly pleaded to God for safety, and second, he wrestled that night for a desperately needed blessing at the hand of Yah. So you thought we were going to talk about Jacob wrestling with Yeshua. Have you ever wrestled with Yeshua? Has he ever come and tapped you on the shoulder in the middle of the night and said, wake up, I want to talk to you? We got some things to talk over. Have you ever wrestled with him? He wins every time. The answer is always, here I am, Lord, and yes, you're right, Lord, and I'm sorry. I mean, just kind of take that position, and things go a lot faster. So at any rate, this is Israel on this side. This is not Israel on this side, okay? And this is where they are. So let me just give you, here's the X. This is where he's at, and here's that Jabok River that runs into the Jordan. This is where they are. And Jacob prepares a gift of his wealth for his brother, and he spreads them out, and he develops a policy of appeasement, and which I don't know that it's probably not such a good idea, but he hasn't wrestled with God yet. So he prepares, 200 female goats and 20 male goats and 200 ewes and 20 rams and 30 camels with their colts and 40 cows and 10 bulls and 20 female donkeys, and that's a bunch, right? He spread them out. This looks like a lot of animals and wealth given in tribute for safe passage for his family. That's what this winds up being, okay? It took me all week to find this picture. It was amazing. I just couldn't put in this words and these words and these words, and finally I found it last night. But anyway, so he commanded the second and third and all who followed the drove, saying, in this manner you shall speak to Esau when you find him. Say, behold, your servant Jacob is behind us. Okay, so they're going out there, and here comes all this stuff. It must have been spread out across the landscape, and it must have looked very impressive, Well, how far down did you go, Steve? How far did I let you go? Down to 21? 16? I'm sorry.
Yeah, 16.
I lost you in your translation, so by the time I caught up with you. 16? Okay, why don't you start there?
Okay, 16.
Yeah.
He put them in the care of his servants, each herd by itself, and said to his servants, go ahead of me and keep some space between the herds. He instructed the one in the lead, when my brother Esau meets you and asks, who do you belong to, and where are you going, and who owns all these animals in front of you? Then you are to say, they belong to your servant Jacob. They are a gift sent to my lord Esau, and he is coming behind us. He also instructed the second, the third, and all the others who followed the herds. You are to say the same thing to Esau when you meet him, and be sure to say, your servant Jacob is coming behind us. For he thought, I will pacify him with these gifts I am sending on ahead. Later when I see him, perhaps he will receive me.
Okay, so there they go. All those animals and his servants that are going out ahead of him with that message, and the night falls, right? Let's see. I will appease him with the present that goes before me, and afterward I will see his face, and perhaps he will accept me. History is absolutely ripe with kingdoms paying tribute to more powerful rulers, or more powerful empires, paying tribute to neighboring tribes so that they won't attack them. And in the end, it always happens. It doesn't work. Okay? So, appease. Here's the word. Kafar. Appease, looks like. To cover over. That's like the top of the mercy seat. I think that's called, is related to that word. To cover over. Atone for sin. Make atonement for. Make atonement for what? For the birthright? Or just to bring the family back together? What do you think? What do you think was going on in his mind?
Who's mine?
Jacob's. He's sending all this stuff over here to be an appeasement, to be a covering, to cover over. You think it's for the birthright? Think he's Philly?
I think he's scared of Esau.
Maybe both. Maybe both. Let's remember this. These two guys, even though they were twins, and they were fraternal twins, not identical twins, but they had very different personalities. Jacob was a very gentle, mild shepherd kind of a guy. Esau was the hunter. He was the wild. So who was more of a warrior? Esau. He would be more likely to be angry, especially because I'm going to remind you again, I'm going to say it again, and I'll say it again and again. Esau sold his birthright. he sold it. Who did he sell it to? Jacob. Jacob didn't steal it, he bought it. What was the price? I'm sorry, but if you're dumb enough to sell me your birthright for a bowl of soup, then and he swore, and he said, we'll swear to it, and Esau said, I'll swear to it. What good is it to me? Right? Okay, those are the words.
So maybe Esau's more mad at himself for giving it away?
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind. Okay. Okay, so this word, this present is called Machana. Machana. Oh, here it is, right here in English. Machana. Machana tribute. Thank you. Okay, now let's see. So there they go. They're across that Jabok River, and they're heading south. Now let's see what happens. 22 to 32, if you would, please, Steve.
That night, Jacob got up and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and crossed the ford of the Jabok. After he had sent them across the stream, he sent over all his possessions. So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till daybreak. When the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, so that his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with the man. Then the man said, "Let me go, for it is daybreak." But Jacob replied, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." The man asked him, "What is your name?" "Jacob," he answered. Then the man said, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome." Jacob said, "Please tell me your name." But he replied, "Why do you ask my name?" Then he blessed him there. So Jacob called the place Peniel, saying, "It is because I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared." The sun rose above him as he passed Peniel, and he was limping because of his hip. Therefore, to this day, the Israelites do not eat the tendon attached to the socket of the hip, because the socket of Jacob's hip was touched near the tendon.
Okay. No rump roast for Jewish people, I guess, huh? So that night, it's at nighttime, and Jacob sends all the animals and then his family, or he sends his family over, and he's staying there with getting his stuff, and he's about ready to go over, and all of a sudden the guy, he sends him across the ford of the Jabok. How did you pronounce it, Steve? Jabok? Jabok? He sent all that he had, and he carefully lays a plan by which all likelihood Esau would react favorably to him and would receive him back as a friend and a brother. Jabok, okay. Jacob gets a name change here. He's left alone. And a man, it's literally the Hebrew word ish, wrestled with him until the breaking of day. Ish, and wrestled we'll see what happens when Myra's not here. Abak, I think. Yeah, is that right, Vicki? Abak. Okay. It's in the Nephal. It literally means to wrestle, to grapple, to get dusty, to be dust. They were literally wrestling all night long. Here's the word ish, man, and they wrestled, and it must have been quite a tug of war. Okay. Here's what we need to remember. Sin is always crouching at the door. It's always there. On this earth, sin is always there. It's crouching at the door and wrestling with God for your family. So when God wrestles with us, He burdens our hearts, He afflicts our minds, He convicts our souls. He says, "Wake up, I want to talk to you about something or somebody or someone or something." Until we yield to God's purposes for our lives, there can be an immense tension and turmoil. If you're ever undergoing some kind of a really bad situation in your own life, and we all do, is there anybody who's never had one of those? Would you please? Just like there's no perfect people, there's nobody in here that's ever Well, could you shut that door? Because that's starting to sound like a dentist drill or something. Thank you. Oh, that's much better. Thank you. I don't know what they're doing over there, but at any rate, we all go through that as some kind of tension and stuff, and God's trying to get, and sometimes, especially if you're one of His kids and you've said yes to Him, and you've decided at some point in time in your life to walk away, He'll start putting and you start doing stupid stuff, He'll start putting the pressure on you in order to call you back. And once you come to grips with that, you go, oh, really? I can come back home? And He said, sure, I've been waiting for you. Haven't you been listening? He's been waiting for us to come back home to Him all the time. And you know what? He's not mad at you. So when the Bible says that He loves us, and He sent His Son for us to pay the price of sin that we could never pay, that's the part that we want. That's the part that you need to know in your head, that He's always there welcoming you home. He's always ready. So He's got a plan for you. He wants to use you to do so. He wants to do something with you and for you and through you. Do you know that really when it says that you're Jesus' hands or you're God's hands here on this earth, that's true? Myra and I had the most marvelous meeting with Maria yesterday. She woke up something inside of me that just, we need to be doing stuff for people that are of less fortunate than we are. Like Cynthia last week was praying for those folks over at the, we're going to start working on that. If you guys got ideas on that, please let me know. We'll get together. We'll go out for coffee. But Maria is. Thank you, Maria. This is a wonderful woman, and she's got some big ideas. And we have a whole bunch of really lazy Christians. You know that? We are lazy. If we have time on our hands, we should be using the time that's on our hands to be doing something with these hands, people, because it's not going to fix itself out there. Okay? If He's calling us to stand against evil in these days, if He's calling for us to stand against evil, we're not just going to stand there. We've got to do something. It doesn't have to cost you money, but it can cost you time. You can invest your time in it, And so we're going to be looking for ways that FOM can make some kind of a practical difference. And it's wonderful that we pray, but I think He's starting to show us, I want you to do something, so we're going to keep our ears beyond these walls. Yes.
Can I brag?
Please. I would love for you to brag. I love it when you brag. Just brag into the microphone.
What are we going to brag on, Maria or Commissioner?
Either one. Either one. Both of them.
Many of you have been out to the Beaver's Den,
Yep.
the property that I have listed. And that Leanne and Todd, the couple that live there and own the place, well, she owns it, cannot take care of the yard, and it's huge. It's 1.16 acres. And the man that always takes care of it broke his ankle. So my daughter decided to go up and spend 6 hours mowing the grass, weed eating.
There you go.
Out of the goodness of her heart.
Thank you.
And she said,
Thank you.
when she has a leather store, and she tried on a leather jacket and over $200. She's like, wow, someday I'd love to own that. Go riding on the back of my motorcycle with my dad. But anyway, when it was all finished, Leanne came with this leather jacket. And she said, wow.
Wow. Wow.
She said,
See, that's there.
here.
Yeah.
And she said, Callie said, no, I did this out of the goodness of my heart. And Leanne said, yes, I'm doing this out of the goodness of my heart. There's the leather jacket. I didn't know she was going to wear that
That's how
today.
some-
But
yeah.
just, I mean,
Just wonderful things like that.
Yeah.
And Maria in my life, and the people that she blesses, everything at La Vista. No, they bless me because they give me the opportunity to serve. What she said.
What she said.
Anyway, I'm blessed to have both of these wonderful women in my life.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Yay. That's the way it's supposed to be. Okay, we're gonna start watching the kingdom. I'm telling you, the Lord is saying you're gonna start watching the kingdom at work. Okay. Okay. It's good. It's all good, right? All right. So just because we can't see that plan, let's see. God has a plan for you and something for you to do and something for you to do through you. That's why He created you, by the way. By the by, that's why He created Maria, Kelly. So no good thing will He withhold from him who walks uprightly before Him. Okay? He wants to bless you. Blessings are just right here around the corner. Because we can't see that plan sometimes, we go on our merry way to see what way we can accomplish on our own. And God moves for us or towards us to wrestle with us, and all the turmoil and tension that's mentioned above up there, until He touches us and He changes our walk. So it wasn't just that, the guy's leg was out of joint. He never walked the way he used to walk again. And that's what we want to have happen, right? Don't we want to be in that position to where we're not walking the same way? Okay. So when he saw that he did not prevail against him, he touched the socket of his hip, and it was out of joint as he wrestled with him. Okay? And Jacob's hip was out of joint in the night, and still he did not let go. So that's the message, that's the big message this morning. I don't care how much you wrestle with him and how much the headaches come back. We're not going to let him go until he blesses, right? We don't have to let go. Don't ever give up, don't ever give up, don't ever give up. I think that would be the point. The darkness of the night and with great pain, I don't know, and Jacob did not let go, right? Morning was coming, because you know what? Morning always comes. So far it hasn't let us down. Let me go, for the dawn is breaking, the man said. And Jacob said, I won't let you go until you bless me. And this is what changes everything for everybody on this planet, the fact that Jacob wouldn't let go. Jacob, who's been called a deceiver and a dirty scoundrel and all this kind of stuff for all through your Sunday school days, he wasn't. He wasn't. He was the man that God told his mother he was going to be the one that was going to carry on the patriarchal blessing, right? We've got that wrong. Oh, we've had that wrong. So at any rate, Jacob was called to prevail. He prevailed. And what does that word prevail mean? It means to be able, to be strong, to gain mastery, to be victorious, to prevail here on earth. In heaven, there's nothing to triumph over. Think about it. All things in heaven are already in order. It's here that we need to be prevailers. It's here that we need to be overcomers. Overcome, prevail, it's the same word in Hebrew. He says, your name shall be Israel. This is the first time the word Israel is used in the Bible, chapter 32. Chapter 32. First use of the word. For you have struggled with God here all night long, and with man, your brother, your father-in-law, right? And you have overcome. You've prevailed. You haven't given up. So to prevail is the word, looks like it's the word yakol. To prevail, over against, to be a victor. And that is exactly what Adam was supposed to do way back in the garden. That's what he was supposed to do, and he didn't, and that's why we are all sitting here today. Okay? That's why we're all sinners saved by grace, I guess. He was to overcome or prevail, and that's what the letters to the 7 churches who overcome in Revelation receive a reward, because they overcame. For those of you who are going to read our book, you'll find out exactly what that reward was. Yes?
And my Bible here, the translation is just a little bit different.
Okay.
It says here, from now on you will no longer be called Yaakov, but Israel, because you have shown your strength to both God and man and have prevailed.
To both God and man, yes.
Your strength instead of struggle.
Okay, this is where it comes from, to be strong. That's one of the meanings of it, of the word. Able, to be strong, to gain mastery. Okay, now say that again. It says...
To me, showing your You have shown your strength to both God and man.
Instead of struggle. Okay, I like, see, the word struggle's not even there, is it? You have shown your strength.
It says, you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome.
Okay, now is that NIV? You're still back in your NIV. Okay. We're going to get you over to, what are you reading? No, yeah, you're fine. No, your NIV is fine.
It just drives my heart differently, because
Yeah.
to me a struggle is like I'm always in a weak position and I feel inferior. It's a struggle against something stronger than I. And yet in this case it says, but you have shown your strength to both God and man. So it doesn't necessarily mean you in the weaker position
Yeah.
to prevail.
He wouldn't let go. He didn't give up, right? And this is exactly what we're supposed to be doing. We are supposed to be taking ground and holding it. I don't care what the other people in Washington are doing, and what your crazy congressperson is doing, and what the crazy things that are going on in the streets of America, what they're doing. That doesn't matter. What comes out of our mouth and how we take a stand, we just can't sit down and go, oh, well, isn't that too bad? And there's enough of that. We've got to be supporting the right people that are running for office, because we do live in a republic and we elect the people that represent us. So it's our problem. It's our problem, and we're the ones that can do something about it. Dolores?
What I get from this showing your strength is like a blacksmith has an anvil and a hammer, and one of them will wear out, but the other one will be there. And it's that strength that keeps that one piece there. I think it's the anvil that takes the wind, but the hammer still,
It's still going to be there.
pounding against it, but that anvil stays strong.
Yeah. It'll become in the shape that it's supposed to come to, right?
The hammer and the anvil are what shapes the
Yep. And Vicki, I think this will go along with what you're saying here. So this struggle goes on all night, and the strength is not to destroy Jacob, but to strengthen him. I mean, the struggle is not to destroy Jacob, but to strengthen him and empower him to do something. That's why, see, some of us learn lessons faster than other ones, faster than others of us. And some of us, it takes a little longer, so we have to go through the test again. Okay? But as soon as we start yielding to God and saying, you're right, show me what you want me to do, I'll do it, da-da, 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 and all of a sudden you're strong enough to do the task that He's called you to do, you have prevailed, okay? And we're all going to get there. One way or the other, we're all going to get there, because I'm going into that promised land with all of you guys, right? Okay, all right. So Jacob will not let the man go until the blessing comes. What is your name? That's all Jacob had at this point. He sent everything ahead. Now all he has is his name. And he said, your name shall no longer be, he said, my name is Jacob. And by the way, his name means he will follow. It doesn't mean usurper. It doesn't mean deceiver. Jacob means it's a heel grabber. The one that followed grabbed hold of the heel of his brother, because his brother was trying to crush his head with his foot.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
It says, what is your name? Your name shall no longer be called Jacob. Why do we see Jacob throughout the Bible? Why isn't it converted over to?
Well, I can tell you real simple, Captain, because sometimes Susan can be Susan the warrior, and sometimes Susan can be Susan in her flesh. I can be full of the Spirit, and sometimes I can be just downright in my flesh. Sometimes I'm old Susan, and sometimes I'm, wow, Susan, right? Empowered by the Spirit. That's why. Okay? It's kind of like elephants, don't forget, huh? Yeah. Alrighty. So when Jacob left the land, he was alone, and when he crossed back into the land, he was alone, or was he? Was he being accompanied by all those angels and the power of God? He said, I've seen the face of God, and my life has been preserved, and is no longer going to walk the same. Just as he crossed over Peniel, because he saw the face of God, the sun rose up on him, and he limped on his hip. And he's not going to be the same anymore. Sent ahead. Do we do this? 1 through 3. I'll show you the limping Jacob here in a minute. 1 through 3, chapter 33.
Jacob looked up, and there was Esau, coming with his 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the 2 female servants. He put the female servants and their children in front, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph in the rear. He himself went on ahead and bowed down to the ground 7 times as he approached his brother.
Okay, so he's going, and now he's not sending his wife and children ahead. He sent them over, but now he's catching up and he's kind of going around them to meet his brother first before Esau meets his family, right? But he's looking a little bit like this. His walk was different from that day on. When you have an encounter with God, your walk will be different too. You'll see things differently. Things will make sense in a whole nother way, and it's just not the same anymore. Right, Sheila? It's just not the same. Okay. So why would God ask Jacob to approach his brother on one of the most frightening mornings of his life with a limp? Because faith confesses that God's ways are not our ways, and our ways are not His, and He works in ways that we could never even imagine. He works in ways to extol His greatness, and we then are privileged simply to be trophies of His grace. That's what you are. You are a trophy. Do you ever think you'd be a trophy wife, Sheila? Yeah. You're a trophy bride. You're a trophy in his trophy case, if you will. Is of grace. It's all. He goes, yes, I got another one, kind of a thing. This is the life of faith, a wrestling with God, in which we come more and more to be enthralled with His greatness and recognize how weak and needy we really are. We can't do this in our own strength. You know, you can't. And He's got stuff for you to do that, wow. So the Lord upholds all those who fall, and He raises up all who are bowed down, like Jacob was when he was with his walk. God can and will raise us up, dust us off, and set our feet back on solid rock. He's done it for me several times. It's by His grace that we continue to press on with the battle cry, Kadima, which means go forth. That's what the Israeli army still calls forth today when they're going on attack, Kadima. And why must we wrestle with God for the blessing? There is a redemptive purpose in the struggle. It's all about redemption, everything. Surely in Jacob's case, the mysterious divine man could have overpowered Jacob in a split second. That was God. He could have crushed him like a bug, but He didn't. But in the struggle, Jacob's nature was changed to inherit the promises of God. He was not fit before the struggle. And so too, we must be trained in endurance in order to finish the race that's set out before us. Doesn't that make sense? It's not, it's not going, okay, here's your salvation ticket. You just present that to St. Peter at the Heaven's Gate when you pass on. Thank you very much.
You want to sell it?
No. Here's your papers. There's going to be a test on Monday morning. I mean, it's more like that, right? Yeah. And we don't let go, and we don't let go, and we don't let go until He blesses us. Right, Roseanne?
There is some of the least friend to buy
Your ticket, yeah. Your papers. Yep. He wants to eat your lunch. Yep. Okay. So Elijah said, if Yah is God, then worship Him, and if Baal is God, then worship him. So rooted firmly in our Torah section today, it's a basic concept that Yah is in position to interact with those that He has chosen at a very personal level. He wants to get right down on the level with where you're at. And that concept adds weight to a personal Savior that Christianity has. Okay? The Jewish people don't have that. They don't have the concept of a personal Savior. That's what and a lot of that is due to how Christians have presented it to them, frankly. And a lot of it's their own darn fault because they refuse to see. And the rabbis have told them, no, 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 whatever. So distant gods of pagan nations are not up close and personal. They are distant and they're impersonal and with a perceived need to be appeased. Bought off, just like Jacob was trying to do with Esau before God wrestled with him all night. So Yah communicates with his people, often in person, like he did that night. Dreams, written word, a prophetic word in a personal way, with the expectation of just obey me. Just do what I ask you to do in the word. Here, just do this. It's not hard. He even gave us a book. I mean, really. A manual, yeah. So Jacob alone, exercising his faith in Yahuwah for those who would come after him. Jacob has the sons who will build the nation. Those 11 boys that he sent over, he's got one more to be birthed in the land. Benjamin is the only son that's birthed in the land of Israel, actually. And this nation is to have a mission. They are to be a nation of priests before Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. They're to teach other nations about in the world about God. This nation is to be a light to the world with the message of the God of Israel, and they are not to hide this light under a bushel. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? A light under a bushel is of very little value if they were not to adulterate the message of God of Israel and His Torah. We can't adulterate this. We can't say that 2/3 of this Bible isn't valid anymore. It is very valid. This is the instructions for living right here. This is how we're to live with one another in peace, right? They're all written right here. Okay. So this aloneness that Jacob experienced that night had a purpose. So, and the aloneness sometimes that you have, and you feel, God, where are you? You know. And when He's dealt with you, it's also that He will be exalted, and you'll have a testimony. You'll have something to share with somebody. Otherwise, we don't have nothing. Okay. So likewise, we're to treat God's name that way, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh Yahuwah, with very great care and not use it in vain. Because in the end, by the time you get to the end of your life, Joe, time he got to the end of his life this last week, if I may, that's all he had left. That's all he took with him was his name. So our question is it going to be a good name by the time I get to the end of the race and I finish it? Take very good care of your name. You are known by it and by your reputation. It's attached to your name. Your reputation is attached to your name. Treat it with very great care. If anyone remembers you at all, it's by your name and what that name represents. What's your name? Where you know that, right? That's all you got. Okay, so this family is divided and sent ahead. Now let's see what happens here. I think, let's see. I'm out of order. Oh dear, what will happen? Family is divided. Here comes Esau. Jacob divides his family, so he divided the children among Leah and Rachel and the two maidservants, and he put the maidservants and their children out in front. We'll just do a little test here. And then Leah and her 7 kids, 6 sons and 1 daughter, 7 kids. And then Rachel and Joseph were the last. And then Jacob crosses over to meet his brother. Okay? So let's see what happens here. 4 through 17, and we'll be all done.
So Esau ran to meet Jacob and embraced him. And he threw his arms around his neck and kissed him. And they wept. Then Esau looked up and saw the women and children. "Who are these with you?" he asked. Jacob answered, "They are the children God has graciously given your servant." Then the female servants and their children approached and bowed down. Next, Leah and her children came and bowed down. Last of all came Joseph and Rachel, and they too bowed down. Esau asked, "What's the meaning of all these flocks and herds I met? To find favor in your eyes, my lord," he said. But Esau said, I already have plenty, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself. No, please, said Jacob. If I have found favor in your eyes, accept this gift from me. For to see your face is like seeing the face of God. Now that you have received me favorably, please accept the present that was brought to you. For God has been gracious to me, and I have all that I need. And because Jacob insisted, Esau accepted it. Then Esau said, let us be on our way. I'll accompany you. But Jacob said to him, my Lord knows that the children are tender and that I must care for the ewes and the cows that are nursing their young. If they are driven hard just one day, all the animals will die. So let my Lord go on ahead of his servant while I move along slowly at the pace of the flocks and the herds before me and the pace of all the children until I come to my Lord in Seir. Esau said, then let me leave some of my men with you. But why do you do that? Jacob asked. Just let me find favor in the eyes of my Lord. So that day Esau started on his way back to Seir. Jacob, however, went to Succoth, where he built a place for himself and made shelters for his livestock. That is why the place is called Succoth.
Okay. Another way to pronounce that is Sukkot, which literally means a temporary dwelling. It's the name of the festival that we celebrate in the fall. So, all right, so he gets his family all spread out, and then he sends them that way, and then he crosses over, limping, as he's going, but he's going to make sure that he's going to get up there to meet Esau before his wives and children do, like any good husband would do, right? So Esau runs out to meet him, and he's ready for whatever, and Esau says, wow, who are these guys? And Jacob introduces all of his family now to Uncle Esau. Wow. Wow. Now I want you to put Esau's sandals on for a minute and think what he's seen. What side of the Jordan River are they on? On the other side. The side that's not Israel. Right? The side that's not Israel. Or not even Canaan. It's other than. And here comes Esau up from Seir, which is on the other side, right? And he's coming up to meet Jacob's family. And what's the very first thing that Esau sees? Animals. How many animals? A couple animals? Lots of animals. And then he's finding out from the workmen, these belong to my brother Jacob, and he's giving them to me? Ooh. What's the first thought in Esau's mind, do you think? My brother has become very wealthy. Okay. Keep that in mind. All of a sudden, 8 through 11, we have some new negotiations going on between Jacob and what is all this? It's a gift to find a gift for you to find favor, a tribute, in other words. He says, no. He says, keep it for yourself. No. He says, if I found favor in your eyes, then now we're into this Middle East negotiation back and forth that we've been involved in before. So Esau took it and accepted it and took delivery of it. Okay? Then Esau said, this is very interesting conversation. In verse 12 he said, let us take our journey and let us go, and I will go before you. Okay? He's wanting Jacob now to follow him back to where? And what side of the promised land is it on? The right side or the wrong side, if you will? Wrong side. So now Jacob's got a decision to make. Do I go follow Esau back to Seir? Or am I going to do what God's told me to do and go over here? Wow, but you can't. But thank goodness he saw God that night, huh? Maybe. God knew. Okay, so we got new negotiations, and he wants to come with him, and all of the wealth that God has given him. And so my question was, as I was rethinking this through last night for the 14th time, So was Esau really glad to see Jacob, or was it all his wealth that he was really glad to see? I think he was really glad to see all the wealth. He's going, wow, wow. We can just do Isaac and Sons Incorporated here, and we'll just clean up, right?
That's a really interesting thought, because you saw this caravan of thing after thing, wave after wave of
Right.
all this stuff coming at him. Maybe he was still angry about what he blamed Jacob for.
So maybe it was appeasing him, because the messenger said 400 men and they're ready for war. So maybe it was I think this was exactly what was going on here. He's going, wow.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. Maybe he's sitting there going, let's rethink this.
See, it's negotiations coming to the table, okay?
Oh, let bygones be bygones.
Come on in, I'll just,
Bring on
yeah.
your flock.
And you're gonna call me Lord? Okay. It sounds like you're giving me back my birthright.
Birthright. Like they have in the battle with Sodom, how the king wanted to give him all this stuff.
Yeah.
And he says, no, I'm on trust God.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Jacob's going to do, because he's now seen the face of God. See, he's had that struggle, and he's come to grips with it. He's going, I'm going to trust what God told me last night. I mean, after all, he put my hip out of joint.
Exactly.
Right? Maybe he'll fix it. Who knows? Yes, ma'am.
He's also not a follower anymore.
Nope. That's right, not a follower anymore. That's exactly right. Okay. So Esau, blah, 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 Esau wants Jacob to go with him, and Esau's going to lead the way, and Jacob has here's Jacob's response. I've got all these children and the herds, and they want to go slowly. Read verse 14 again, please. Somebody. It's close to the microphone back there. Read verse 14.
So, let my Lord go on ahead of his servant, while I move along slowly at the pace of the flocks and herds before me, and the pace of the children, until I come, my Lord, in Seir.
Okay, mine says, I will lead on slowly at a pace which the livestock that go before me and the children, what they're able to endure. So Jacob's going to have lots and lots and lots of descendants, right? We'll come and so he's not just talking about those 11 kids. He's talking about Bill. He's talking about Maria. They'll come along at a slower pace, at what the kids are able to endure until all these people in later on ages will read these words that are being written, that are going to be written down, because Jacob's thinking, surely somebody's going to write this stuff down, right? And maybe we're finally maybe we're of a generation that can begin to endure this stuff. That can endure going and talking to the people from Seir. Oh, I don't know. That sounds I can't believe I even said that, right? But we're to be representative. These children are supposed to be representatives of who God is, right? To the rest of the nation. That might be a very prophetic verse in there. He's not just talking about 11 kids that are back there with their moms, I don't think. At any rate. And so he's got Esau going, okay, well, we'll go ahead and go on back, because I want to make sure all these animals get to, all these animals that you've given me, I want to make sure they get all back there safely. So we'll go ahead and go on. He played cowboy and got all the animals down. Meanwhile, Jacob's going, okay, I don't think my kids can endure this right now, so we're going to turn and we're going to go across the Jordan River over to where God told me to go. Right? Did he lie to him? Was that deceptive? Or was he just following what God had told him to do, go back to the land? I ask you. He's doing God's way.
He took a right turn in Albuquerque.
He took a right turn at Albuquerque. That's what he did. He took a right turn at Albuquerque. So quote once again. Okay, so here's the Jabok River. Here, I'll point with this. Here we go. Jacob's coming down this way, right? And Esau's coming up this way, land of Edom, down here. Here's the Dead Sea. Here's the Jordan River. And here's the Galilee. So Jacob's coming down this way. This is where they meet. Here's the Jabok. And he crossed the Jabok. He's meeting him right here. And now he's going to go across the Jordan and into Sukkot, okay?
Where's the arrow?
Where's who? Seir. Oh, down here, land of Edom. Seir. Seir. Well, it's a land. If you were to pinpoint it on the map would probably take you to Petra today. That whole area down south here. Down here, it's even off the map a little bit. Okay? So this is where Jacob's supposed to be, and this is exactly where Esau is supposed to be down here. So all, God's in his heaven and all is right with the world here as we wind up today's Torah portion. And that's it.